I'm going to put up the link in the quest board. Which next time you go live, going forward, feel free to put it up there. Of course, the whole tonight at 11 thing was me doing a Futurama joke. Yeah, I can certainly work with that. Time for everything. Oh, you'll have to show it to me later. It's close to the mark. Let's do this.
Man, I gotta do better at doing this. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Hope you're all having a wonderful evening. Hope you've had a wonderful day. I, of course, am Sigmundo Orlando, the World Wanderer, and this is my first Fireside Lounge. With me today is fellow Slayer and man who's become a good friend within the past few months, good old Mildred the Monk.
Boop. Thank you for having me. I enjoy being had.
I'm not even going to go into that one because that's bait. You can't fool me, sir. So, anyways, as we have both finished Doom: The Dark Ages, and I started off this year going through the entire Doom series in preparation of that. I figured I'd go ahead and do a Doom tier list, just because, well, I have a lot I want to say about the series, and going into a little bit of history with the Doom series. Hi, Tabby.
Okay.
How are you doing? I actually started off with the Super Nintendo series, or the Super Nintendo game, way back in the day. Really
Yeah.
impressive for the time, but man, was that painful.
Um, I my first introduction to Doom proper was the PlayStation edition.
Oh,
I didn't really have much in the way of PC gaming at that time. I wouldn't for about a year. Um, and the PlayStation edition is a interesting beast. It is kind of a remix. Um, and eventually I would go with the original and just go from there. Um, then I ended up getting right back into things when the board game came along,
yeah, I remember the board game. I also remember the
which
PlayStation edition of Doom as well. That's the one I've played the most, and I wouldn't play the actual like PC game until like well into not well into my adult years, but into my early adult years when I finally got an Xbox and they had that on the Xbox Arcade.
mhm, pretty much.
Did you ever
And
play the PlayStation version of Final Doom?
um, no. By that point, I was able to get a decent enough PC, so I didn't play the PlayStation version of Final Doom.
That's a shame because, in my opinion, that was better than than the actual Final Doom. Even though it was smaller and had master levels, a small portion of TNT, and then a small portion of plutonia.
Mhm.
But that is neither here nor there. So going into this, decided to, since I just finished the Doom countdown and everything, I wanted to go ahead and rank my journey and bring Mildra along for the ride because he said he said he'd wanted to join in. So I thought, hey, let's fucking go.
Yep.
All right, and on the suggestion, at the suggestion of Mildra, we have ranked all of the tiers from S to F. S being Carmack tier,
Mhm.
A being Romero, B being Peterson, C being McGee, D being Tom Hall, and finally, at the bottom of the barrel is the Willits tier. Games we
Mhm.
absolutely fucking hate.
Yeah. So now maybe this is just me, but this is how I'm interpreting the grading thing. S is the ones that are the hallmarks of these series. These are the ones that should be early go tos to anyone getting into whether it be the classic or the more recent stuff. A is the ones that are good, but there's a few asterisks.
Mm-hmm.
B is decent is above average. C is mid. D is we've got some problems, and F is absolutely not. And I believe the only major one we're not tackling is Doom RPG because that was a mobile game, and fuck mobile games.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I have never played Doom RPG, so I really couldn't take that into account. But I don't know. Maybe
I,
someday on the channel, I will give it a shot.
I'm just offended that it calls itself an RPG.
I've only seen like screenshots of it, so I really have no context.
But it was it was an early pre-smartphone era cell phone game,
Wasn't it like for
and
flip phones?
yeah, and as bad as mobile gaming is now, with the flip phone era, they were just slightly above Tiger handheld games, which God help you if you ended up getting that instead of getting a proper handheld system growing up.
Say what you want. I loved some of the Tiger handheld games. Some of those were pretty fun, but then again, I didn't have all the big gaming systems as a kid, but
Mhm.
I made fun where I could.
Yeah,
So to
I didn't.
start us, oh, go ahead.
I didn't either, but I I found ways to work. I found ways to work around it. Um, and I will note when it comes to the grading thing. Um, Sig and I had some back and forth about which approach we wanted to go with. The Originally it was just going to be letter grades, but I thought, why not have a bit of fun, have it be named after different aid employees. Um, we were on the fence about whether Romero or Carmack would get S tier. Um, Ultimately, I think it had to be Carmack because of all of the memes that have been made about Carmack.
Yeah, yeah. So starting to start us off, we're gonna go with the first Doom, the OG. Of course, the way we're gonna do this is we're ranking it from episodes 1 to 4 because Ultimate Doom, that's how it comes now. Is what
Yeah,
it is.
and of course, all games graded by their generation.
Right.
Which is going to be a weight on the grade, but the big reason we're doing that is it wouldn't be fair to compare a game with the tech level of the original id Tech to modern id Tech.
Yeah, like id 24, which is what I used during the countdown when I was running it.
Hmm.
Last time when I was doing the countdown to Doom Eternal, I actually played it through GZ Doom. So
Hmm.
two totally different experiences.
Yeah, obviously a lot of people use GZ do especially in this wave of boomer shooters that we've been having for the last
Mm-hmm.
decade. But but there's no shortage of options when it comes to emulating the OG era. Um, but I'd say I'd say Smooth Doom is the closest there is to being able to emulate the original as close as possible in modern tech.
Mm-hmm. And
And
to
even
get the
then, there's
timing of the shotgun on.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I'm thinking with Doom 1, I would put that. I would definitely put that in Romero tier. Mostly because, I mean, as one of my favorite YouTubers says, Doom starts high and ends low.
yeah,
And I think it's mostly episode 3 that's, really gets me. Episode 4 isn't bad, but it's not bad enough to put it, you know, in B.
yeah. It's a lot of the memorable stuff, a lot of the legendary stuff is in episode one. Episode two is okay-ish. Um, and three has Slough of Despair.
Ugh, don't remind me. I do not need to be reminded of Slav Despair. Definitely not. So we'll go ahead and we will put this one in Romero tier.
Mhm.
So the way I had this set up is I am rating the games on the order I played them for the countdown.
Yep.
Some of them will be separate from others, and we'll judge them on their own merits.
Yeah.
Next up,
And
oh, go ahead.
before we move on, I will note, Thy Flesh Consumed is a case of American McGee at his most American McGee.
Mm-hmm. And not to mention that I didn't he design, like, if I remember correctly, he designed like 1 or 2 levels.
Yeah,
Or am I thinking of Sean Green?
could be. It's just that some of the levels in Thy Flesh Consumed were kind of a more mixed bag even than episode three.
Mm-hmm. Especially, God, the first map of Thy Flesh Consumed, which was American McGee.
Mhm.
You only have like 10 health pickups through that entire level, and they're all health bonuses. But going on, this is a episode that John Romero did. Sigil. I would say putting it in B tier would be, that's my opinion. Mostly because it really depends on the soundtrack. The James Paddock soundtrack is excellent, but I prefer the Buckethead soundtrack, which you could really only play through like GT Doom or other source ports. I
Mhm.
felt like the music fit the thing, but some of the levels in that game, especially the one where you're being chased by the Cyber Demon. God, what was that one? I have my list up here somewhere. It was Abaddon's Void. That's what it was.
Mhm. Yeah, some of these stages with Sigil are certainly better than others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it does kind of have that problem of building up to a bunch of stuff, but the follow through doesn't quite match.
Yeah, I mean the returns on it weren't exactly great, but they weren't terrible either. And it's
Mhm.
you know Romero's a great level designer. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean, while this isn't his best, it's certainly pretty good. I have things to say about Sigil 2, but we'll get to that when it's
Yeah.
pertinent. But yeah, definitely Peterson tier for Sigil 1.
Hmm.
Sigil 2. I'm sorry, Mr. Romero, but I'm gonna have to say Hall tier. For the reason of, I understand that this was released during Doom's 30th anniversary. And I get that it was wanting to stick with the original monsters and map tiles of Doom, but I really didn't like this one nearly as much as Sigil 1. I mean, the only redeeming quality I could say about it is the Thor soundtrack, which is very, very good. Although James Paddock's soundtrack in it is, once again, not bad either.
Yeah.
But
I think when it comes to Sigil 2, I think it was more that I have a feeling people expected a Sigil follow up to use Doom 2 setup instead of the original.
mm-hmm.
And obviously that's not what ended up happening.
Yeah, because again, for this one, he did it on Doom's 30th anniversary,
Hmm.
like a year or so back, and he just wanted to stick with the texture sets and the monsters of Doom 1, which I really think hurt it more than it helped. So, into Halls, here you go. Sorry, Mr. Hall. You're better than that, we know. Okay, Doom 2. First time I played Doom 2 was actually the PlayStation version.
Hmm.
And I have very good memories of that. In fact, it became my favorite Doom game for the longest time. Then I played the actual Doom game, and my my happy memories of it were immediately shattered. I would definitely put this in Peterson tier.
Yeah.
If anything, for the city levels, the middle part, which is mostly Sandy Peterson.
Pretty much. And obviously you have some infamous ones, some of which were done by American McGee. You have I believe it was Complex. I think it was that was a little bit obtuse for its own good, and of course the Chasm.
Oh
Um,
God, don't remind me, please.
yeah,
It's an
the
abstract kind of hell.
yeah an abstract version of Texas. And I think there was, but there's also the fact that when a lot of people think of classic Doom, more often than not, they're thinking of Doom 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of impact is something that can supersedes a lot of the problems. That's FPSs have not had the best track record when it comes to compelling boss fights.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Doom, it's no exception, because the Icon of Sin is the closest thing to a boss fight that classic had,
Mm-hmm.
and it really isn't. It's more of an extended puzzle.
And not to mention, I mean, the only boss monsters they really had were the Cyber Demon, the Spider Demon, and of course the Archvile, if you even want to count that as a boss.
Mm-hmm. And because of how frequently those are used, it doesn't really fall into that category as easily.
Mm-hmm. Tabby's
But
saying Doom 2 should be A tier. I kind of disagree on that, but eh.
I think S does not mean perfect. It's just these are the ones that are the uh, most defining parts of the series, and with Doom 2, that's definitely the case.
Yeah.
And the fact that to this day everybody's trying to make some version of Dead Simple should be enough of a clue.
Yeah, she goes and she says, "I only say A because it's a defining part of the series," and I would agree. It is definitely. I mean, it came out like 10 months later after Doom, and then Ultimate Doom shortly after that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I can go. I can go with A tier for Doom 2. Master levels for Doom 2. Again, my first experience with that was actually the PlayStation version of Final Doom, but it only had, I believe it was 8 of those maps out of the total of the 20 that were in there.
Yeah, Master Levels was a case of one thing that was a bad habit back then, which was just grabbing any old levels off the internet, putting them on a disc, and calling it an expansion. And a lot of them were very, very bad.
Mm-hmm. One of my only complaints with this one, and I will die on this fucking hill, is that I hated the Black Tower. Absolutely hated the Black Tower. It went on too fucking long. It was majorly cryptic, and there are some spots where I got stuck because the use key didn't work right in some areas. Like there's one part in the tower where the walls come up and you're trapped with two barons. You kill them and you have to hit a switch to get out. The first time I ran that, and I think the second time, I wall clipped just to get out.
And I feel like, and I feel like it's a classic case of thinking that um, quantity is quality,
Mm-hmm.
and Doom wasn't the only target of this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There were plenty of others that got this treatment. Hell, even Rise of the Triad had this problem in one form or another.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially with all the custom, especially because it came with a custom level editor like right out of the box, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I guess they figured a level editor would be inevitable after the whole Aardwolf thing blew up in their face.
Aardwolf.
Uh, but I do know that there was also a classic case of hand braking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those who don't watch my stuff, hand braking is the nickname I give for games that have some sort of obstacle that is the opposite of hand holding, where the solution is far too cryptic for its own good.
Mm-hmm.
Or the clues are on the cryptic end of things, and the only way you could possibly overcome it is by having some degree of foreknowledge.
I can actually see that. For me, it was more like banging my head against the wall until it actually broke through. So I will say, I'm going to go ahead and put master levels in McGee tier. Not terrible, but not impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Mid.
Definitely. All right, TNT Evolution. Fuck this game. Fuck it with a pineapple. Oh, and yep. Tabby says it's S tier.
It is a free country, and you are free to be wrong.
Exactly.
Remember what I said earlier about quantity not equal quality?
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those cases. You have maps that are way too large for their own good. You have a very lacking amount of enemy variety in a lot of those maps. In fact, I remember when I replayed through Evolution about 2 years ago, I had said some of these feel like Dynasty Warriors maps. I should not be saying that.
Especially if you're playing in like Ultraviolence or something. Even then, there's not enough enemies to fill the maps. As someone who has foolishly done that.
Yeah, not enough, and large swaths of the maps are just filled with nothing but shotgunners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stuff that, and by that point you'll have a super shotgun or hopefully a chain gun, and just mowing through that isn't all the time isn't as fun.
But it's 100% better than no chain gun.
While true, you can have the whole be less than the sum of its parts.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry to say that. Go ahead.
Also, fuck whoever decided that torch puzzle was a good idea.
Oh God, yep. Especially in last call. Oh my God, that was awful.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say it, but not even Kasali's maps could save this. Into the dumpster you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen some people say, would TNT Evolution have as much hate if it was a free add-on like it was originally planned to be? Yeah.
Most likely. Tabby's like, it was hilarious to watch, so like to play absolutely F, to watch you get that frustration and everything makes it fun to watch. Of course you did, because you loved watching me suffer through Mount Pain. Plutonia. Oh boy. I'm going to say B tier on this one. I mean, the maps are short, and, you don't spend too much time banging your head against a wall. But, goddamn, some of these maps are brutal.
This was the thing that established the Casali brothers' reputation as being somewhat sadists.
Not only that, but some of these at times were hair-pullingly unfair, especially levels like the Twilight, which had chain gunners being resurrected by archviles off screen, and you couldn't kill them.
Oh, it loves pulling that stunt.
And putting spider masterminds near key items.
I've talked about this in the past. There is a difference between bad game design and evil game design.
And this definitely falls into the latter.
Yeah, bad game design is, incompetence, your microtransaction bullshit. That falls into the category of bad.
Mm-hmm.
Evil is when the designer is being an absolute dick. They know they're being a dick, and they have the talent to get away with it. Plutonia is definitely that, and I think that interview with Doom World really cements it with what they said, because they made it clear they have no sympathy and regret absolutely nothing about how it turned out.
Wasn't it? I think it was Dario Casali that said, "I had no sympathy for those that say that play this on ultraviolence and complain that it's too hard."
Yeah,
Well,
he
suck it,
outright said,
Casali. I played it through it twice on UV and I beat it. Suck it.
Mhm.
Anyways, you were saying.
yeah, it is. I think the reason I couldn't put it higher is there is that problem of not being really consistent on signposting hurt floors.
Mm-hmm. Especially in like the inescapable death pits that a few of the levels had.
Mm-hmm.
All right, pop you right into B tier. I mean, I enjoy it, but it's a ball buster. All right, no rest for the living. Honestly, I think this is going to be our first Carmack tier, mostly because of how masterfully the levels are put together.
Yeah, Nerve is really damn good. I as much as I'd like to see them make another one. That would be a jumping after Weekoless situation.
Oh, my follower alert has been put behind the thing. Let me put this over here. But anyway, Vanguardian 223, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Wanderer's Library, sir. But yeah, I definitely agree that Nerve Software really did a killer job with this line. They knew exactly what to do with the monsters, where to place them, and the secrets were absolutely wonderful because when you got to them, they had absolutely great shit in them.
Also had a bit of a Metroidvania habit of teasing you with stuff that you need, but you couldn't get.
Yep.
Which is a very EGA move to have like a key or have a secret or even the exit in front of you where you can see it, but because of how the level is laid out, you can't get to it yet.
Right. But the clues were there. You just had to know where to to spot them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would definitely put this in S tier because it was very well done. Whew. Oh boy, Legacy of Rust. I'm going to say Peterson tier, mostly because of Counterfeit Eden.
Yeah, I appreciate the changes that they did to weapons and having new weapons. I some of those weapons I want to see being used in future WADs. Things like the Calamity Blade. The
Oh, the
flamethrower
Blade.
is all right. It's definitely it definitely requires a different approach compared to the plasma gun it's replacing.
Mm-hmm.
The Calamity Blade as a replacement for the BFG, I'm honestly fine with. Uh, the but when it comes to the new monsters, uh, I there were certainly different approaches, and I appreciated the willingness to experiment.
Mm-hmm. Because as I recall, the new monsters like the ghouls and the banshees were actually beta Doom sprites just repurposed, which
Mhm.
is fine. The ghouls had low health, but they were just really annoying because they could just take pot shots at you from a distance, and banshees are just sentient exploding barrels.
Pretty much.
Another thing I'd like to point out, specifically with the Sago, did you ever notice while hitting the Visago or leaving it in idle, how it made the PlayStation Doom monster hurt sound whenever it was just walking.
I did notice that. And
That
I appreciate the reuse. Um, I suppose one of these days I'd like to go back into the sound library and see if I can figure out what the origin of each sound was.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of went down that rabbit hole once with Godzilla movies, where I learned that the roar was was a recording of the squeaky ass bridge outside of Toho Studios.
Oh wow, that's pretty neat. But yeah, I definitely would say B tier. So, and I'm gonna sound like an asshole when I say this, but solely for Panopticon. What the fuck were they thinking with that?
Mm-hmm.
Panopticon was, God, unnecessarily hair-pullingly fair, like Romero levels of sadistic. Oh yeah, we got a cyber demon in the middle of the thing, and it's shooting rockets at you through the entire time, but hey, you get a calamity blade to finish it off.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, I don't know if you noticed, Mildra, but they did put the calamity blade in one of the modern Doom games, specifically Eternal. It's just an upgrade for the ballista.
Yeah.
So they did have it. I'm kind of disappointed they didn't put it in the Dark Ages, but we'll get to that when we get to the Dark Ages itself. But yeah, Legacy of Rust definitely B tier. The first half was fun. I definitely enjoyed it because of the way it introduced the new monsters and the weapons, and I love the incinerator, but that's just me.
Yeah. On the other hand, Spirit Drains.
Oh god, Spirit Drains is a level that drains my spirit.
Yep.
I'm surprised you didn't freeze my feet to the ground with that one.
Nah, too easy.
Fair. Alright, Doom 64. I do remember a conversation we had early on when we started talking was this was a game released, wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah. I remember a lot of people not liking it at the time, but as the years went on, it got a better run of things. Did you happen to watch Matt McMuscle's video on Doom 64? Did illuminate a few things?
I have not actually. That's something I'll probably have to check out at some point.
Yeah. As it turns out, it was obviously Midway had its reputation at that time, but it was also extremely anal about what you could and couldn't do with it, and Midway did have a degree of ambition that they wanted to do to try and make it feel somewhat different from Doom 2. But a lot of the things that they wanted to do, it shot it down. And since it was a contract job, what id wanted they were going to get.
Yeah, I mean, at least they used the sound design and the ambiance from Aubrey Hodges, just like they did with the PlayStation Dooms.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love it. That's like, if it wasn't for like the metal soundtracks and whatnot, especially the ones that Holschult did in the later games. Oh god, I love those.
Yeah.
God, now I forget where I was going with that. Definitely an underrated gem. I did play it back when it did come out on the 64 originally.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, my memories of it were a bit hazy. And, having played it, in my adult years, and noticing, like, certain monsters missing. Chain Gunners, I could live without. But I'm curious, have you ever played Brutal Doom 64?
No.
Oh, that's a shame. That's actually a pretty good mod. What it did was it added back in the Revenants. It also put in some new zombie variants.
Mhm. Which
Re-
is certainly nice.
Mhm.
I will note with all I do have to agree with a certain YouTuber about all these cuts because of the limitations of the N64 and the pain elemental was kept when the easiest way to get the old school Doom fan triggered is by just bringing up Lost Souls.
Oh God. Yep. But a certain dragon kitten in the audience would disagree with you, saying that lost souls are friends.
Uh,
Which I never understood why she said that, but I just kind of ran with it.
yeah, I will also note the unma- a fully powered up Unmaker is even more busted than than the BFG is.
Oh yeah, for sure. It is like the ultimate weapon.
Mhm.
Turns even the highest tier of monsters into a complete joke. Especially if you're especially if you're in No Escape.
Yeah,
Once you get the 3 cyber demons release, you can just take them out within like a minute.
yeah. And remember what I said about handbraking?
Hmm.
That applies to Hectic.
Yep.
The only reason I don't hate it as much as some of the other cases of handbraking is Hectic is technically a secret level that you have to go out of your way to get, and you're not going to get it the first time around.
Mm. Not to mention, it was more of a it was more of an optional thing because all it really did was unlock hidden challenge levels,
Hmm.
which is fine. And I did play through all the challenge levels, especially the ones in lost levels. But I would definitely say that this is a solid A. One of my only complaints with it is that the lost levels are just a little too long for my blood. I mean, there's only 6 of them. Well, 7 if you count the secret one.
Hmm.
But fairly short, sweet, and to the point, and kind of a retroactive way to link Doom 64 and Doom Eternal.
Yeah, for the longest time, the best way to play it was EX because you get everything that was in Doom 64 without having to wrestle with a N64 controller.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when we got the port, thanks to Doom Eternal, that kind of replaced EX in my mind. Like that is the best way to play Doom 64 now.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. So, I would definitely say A tier. It's definitely earned its place there.
oh yeah.
All right. So now we get into what might be the most controversial game, and we're gonna do these by each of their individual things. The Doom 3 games.
Hmm.
We're gonna start off with the main campaign. I honestly want to say B tier, and the reason I say that is because I kind of have fond memories of this game.
I
'Cause
have
when
fonder memories of BFG edition than I do with the original.
because of the
Uh,
flashlight and everything on the armor, rather than having to use that as a separate item.
yeah, there's also the fact that when I the first time I played through it, I ended up having some issues where, especially in like the last third of it, where it kept crashing at random times
Oh.
on the system that I had at the time. That certainly colored things,
Hmm.
but a bigger part of it was I understand that they wanted to go more horror focused, but the way everything felt so confined didn't sit with me.
Yeah, I can definitely agree there. Because I mean, until you got to like the parts where you go outside the facilities or got into hell itself, you know, it was very cramped.
Mhm.
Not to mention
And
armor didn't do shit in that game.
and I can understand that kind of crampness when you're dealing with a proper survival horror game, but Doom 3 was trying to be horror focused without fully leaning into being a survival horror game. And the reason I say that is it's not emphasizing resources the same way survival horror games do.
especially in BFG edition.
Mhm. And I'd say the fact that a lot of enemy encounters are one-on-ones, and even when they do have groups, it ends up being multiple ones, and the game kind of breaks,
Mm-hmm.
like those fights against multiple Hell Knights.
Oh
I
yeah.
will give Doom 3 credit for finally cementing a consistent design for Hell Knights, since they were kind of all over the place over up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And more to your point with the cram thing, I think another reason that it, people kind of dislike it was because at the time Half Life was a thing, and I guess it was trying to emulate that at the time. Uh, of course, with Carmack's reverse technology as well.
I'd say there's certainly that, but I can see that on paper. The problem is Half-Life, even the original, wasn't that confined.
Mm-hmm.
And Half-Life 2 most definitely wasn't.
I would more say that in terms of like narrative, because these FPS games in that area were trying to go for a more narrative focused thing.
Yeah, there was also the whole thing of trying to integrate certain websites, which certainly was a thing in the early 2000s. It's not the most infamous case of that. That particular award goes to um the strategy guide for Final Fantasy IX.
Oh god, don't even get me started with that. I remember that. That's when Play Online started to become a thing.
Yeah,
Why did you make me remember that?
because if people forget, then somebody's going to try that again.
This is true. I cannot argue with that logic. So, on the whole, I would say Doom 3 definitely fits into Peterson tier.
Hmm.
And like I said, I have fond memories of it because when I was doing the countdown for Doom Eternal, one of my cats liked to snuggle up with me with that, and I finished the game like before he had passed away that year, so
Hmm.
it's kind of got a special place in my heart.
I will note Resurrection of Evil is slightly better, if only because since most of it is taking place in hell, they have more of an excuse to have areas be a bit more open.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Resurrection. I did like Resurrection of Evil a whole
Hmm.
lot more than I did the original Doom 3. If anything, because the artifact made things stupidly easy. Number one. Two, the double barreled shotgun.
Yeah,
And
it,
I know how you feel about Doom 3's just base shotgun, so.
yeah. Look, it's kind of funny that a lot of bad shooters I've played all have a bad shotgun.
Well, Project Warlock certainly doesn't, but that's neither here nor there.
Hmm.
But, Resurrection of Evil. Um, I would say solid A to B. I'm kind of in between on where I could put this one.
I'd be fine with putting it at A. It is short. It is obviously shorter. A lot of the stuff that annoyed me with 3 isn't at there. Resurrection of Evil, you could kind of call the Doom 3 apology tour.
Mm-hmm. And it certainly was fairly good.
Mhm.
All right, now Lost Mission. For me, this is probably going to go into Tom Hall tier. If anything, not that it's a bad game by any means. It's certainly not. But it feels unnecessary. I mean, you're just playing a base marine. You get all the Doom weapons. When it was already established that, the marine you played in the Doom 3 campaign was the only survivor. So where the hell does this guy come in?
Remember how earlier we had said that uh, Doom 3 felt like it was trying to compete against Half-Life?
Yeah.
Lost Mission feels like it's trying to be opposing force.
Do elaborate, because I have no context.
Um, Opposing force. That was the Half Life. That was the expansion to the original Half Life that had you playing as a security officer instead of playing as Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
It it was shorter. It was kind of iffy. Um, so I guess I could call Lost Mission opposing force without the grease.
I can
Fuck you,
certainly.
Randy.
Oh, we had to bring up Mr. Pitchford in here, didn't we?
Hmm.
But yeah, Lost Mission, like I said, it wasn't bad. I just feel like it was unnecessary, especially since it's only like 8 levels long.
Which
God,
I think is the reason why Lost Mission gets forgotten when people talk about Doom 3.
uh-huh. And I think it was only released as part of a BFG edition, if I remember right.
Hmm.
So, you know what? I'll be fair and I'll say this is McGee tier. I did want to put it in Hall tier, but like I said, it's not a terrible game. It's just unnecessary.
Yeah, it's not bad enough um to get Hall tier.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, now we're getting into the home stretch. Doom
Hmm.
2016. Easiest S tier of my life. The biggest reason being is it brought Doom back.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. I think when the idea of Doom coming back was announced, had a lot of trepidation because there had been so many subpar attempts to bring back IPs over the years, and there was the feeling that this was going to be more of the same.
I think it was also a feeling of at the time, COD, still pretty big.
Hmm.
And if you've seen the leaked footage of the initial Doom game, it was just going to be it was just going to be a COD version of Doom, which I mean, Civi said probably would have sold well, but that
About
would have
that,
but it would have been the end of the franchise.
it certainly would have, and I think the smart move was made in shit canning that particular project. But personally, if I was in charge of that project, instead of trying to rip off COD, I would have tried to rip off Battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
If only because Doom on Battlefield scale would certainly be interesting. The problem is, while Doom has had multiplayer since the word go, that's not really the reason people play Doom.
It's just a
Like,
small part of it.
yeah, deathmatching has certainly been a thing, but it never really stuck. If there's any game from the id days that had a bigger impact when it came to PvP and deathmatching, it was Quake, not Doom.
Absolutely. And of course, Quake was just the beginning of a new era from 2D to 3D. And I mean,
Mhm.
you look at some games today, you still see some of Quake in there.
Yeah, you might have to look with an electron microscope, but it is still there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I think the other problem was around that time. That was I feel like the time span that would have been around the time of Modern Warfare 3. I think. Don't quote
I
me.
think it'd be just after Modern Warfare 3, more I'd say Black Ops 2.
Yeah, by the time Black Ops 2 was considered the last of the great CODs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the hate boner for COD that some people do. I understand why, but I think and because of the fact that I don't have that hate boner, I think I can better elucidate why why COD fell off in the way that it did. Even if even if it's selling a lot, it's not nearly as successful as it was a few generations ago. And if you don't mind me going into a tangent, let me explain why.
Go for it.
So the original COD was made by a lot of ex Medal of Honor devs, and there were various reasons for that. There was the accusation of poaching. When that was brought up with one of the original devs, the response was things happen. So we're never getting the full story on that. But the one of the central ideas, and this was harrowing at the time, when it was supposed to be MOH killer, was to be an anti-power fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
The idea being you were not the super soldier, you were just a regular guy in the biggest conflict in history.
Mm-hmm.
And right around the time we get to Modern Warfare 2, we start to see this shift into the more action movie approach, but it's still using the same low health and overall combat design as that anti-power fantasy.
Mm-hmm. I also think another factor in that, well, because I've heard the first four COD games were actually really, really good, but modern military shooters were never my thing. But I think it was also around the time where esports, as far as first person shooters, was starting to become a little more common, and I think they were kind of leaning into that as well.
The big, if there was any game that really leaned into it around that time, it was Halo through the collaboration with Major League Gaming,
Mm-hmm.
more than COD.
Okay.
Um, I'd say
Stand corrected.
yeah, I'd say a bigger thing is just the fact that the style that it evolved into didn't match the original intent, but it was still trying to keep the original intent instead of adjusting.
Mm-hmm.
I think and a lot of people who tried to make COD killers didn't quite understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Much in the
Definitely.
same way that a lot of people who tried to make Half-Life killers didn't quite understand what Half-Life was doing.
No, I don't think they really had a understanding of what Half Life actually was.
Hmm. And we saw a lot of games that were like, oh, Half-Life was successful because of all the cutscenes, and quite didn't quite study their competition. You've probably read the Art of War at one point. Know your enemy and know yourself. If you do, if you only have one of those for every victory, you will suffer a defeat.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes when it comes to that attempt, oh, I think one of the other things that really ended up killing that initial attempt to do a modern military style of Doom was how long Rage was taking.
Oh yeah, and Rage is just a
And
glorified tech demo.
yeah, Rage 2 was better, but when you're above 0, is it really?
I've never really played either of the Rage games. I've heard things, but at some point on the channel, I'll probably give them a go myself.
Yeah. Fortunately, you can just jump straight into Rage 2 and you're not going to miss much.
Fair. All right, so Doom 2016 easy S tier. Like,
Yeah, easy S tier. It does get a little bit easy in the last third of it, but so did the original. So
yep.
playing to type there. I'd also say that having a having the sorcerer instead of the archvile wasn't too much of a loss. Having more, it has the of the more recent games, it has the most liberal use of power ups,
Mm-hmm.
and also having snap maps, so you have your level editor right out of the gate.
Yeah. Deathmatch wasn't even bad either. I actually enjoyed a lot of the deathmatch modes, especially Warpath when I did play deathmatch.
It is worth noting that deathmatch and the multiplayer was not done by id, but rather by Saber Interactive.
Oh,
This was around the time where Saber was contracted to do multiplayer for a bunch of different games, or to be the video game equivalent of a script doctor.
right.
Uh, like they had also helped out on various forms with, say, the Master Chief Collection for Halo,
Hmm.
and more recently they've since come into their own, and
Yeah.
especially after Space Marine 2, and I'm looking forward to what they plan on doing with Hellraiser. Certainly
Oh
can't be
yeah,
worse than the last few
I did see the
Hellraisers.
trailer for that. That looks fucking amazing.
It's cer- I'd say it looks like the best Hellraiser thing we've gotten in a while, but that's not exactly that.
That's not a high bar to set there, especially because we're at like what 10 Hellraiser movies, and only maybe one or two of them were good.
The first two are great. Everything after that is mixed to absolute shit.
uh, Also, did Saber help out with the Duke Nukem Forever's Duke match, or am I thinking of something else?
Um, it wasn't Duke Nukem Forever wasn't helped out by Saber. It was helped out by Piranha.
Ah, yeah, now I remember. I was like, was it them that did that, or was it somebody else? Must have been thinking that. Alrighty, Doom Eternal. I was hyped for this game when it came out back in, well, even before 2020 when it initially came out.
Mm-hmm.
I actually agree with Tabby. This game is definitely a solid A.
Yeah,
For the reason of is yes, they put a lot more emphasis on resource management and weapon switching and making sure you got the most out of your kit, especially with the not just the mods but the armor upgrades. And you really had to hunt for secrets in this one.
yeah. I remember 100%ing all these secrets on my first playthrough. Like secret hunting was not that difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the big problem is that it's fun when I look back at one of the gameplay previews for uh, the Dark Ages. They had said that Doom Eternal they you were supposed to feel like you were in a jet engine. The best way I can describe Doom Eternal is taking a bike spinning class at a gym.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who haven't done that on stationary bikes, it is a case of you're on that bike for a long time and you're going full blast for long stretches of it, like upwards of 30 to 40 seconds at once in one full burst. You are gonna be sweating. And after I finished Doom Eternal, which was on I was gonna do it on Ultra Violence. I learned very quickly that was a terrible idea.
I've not.
Bump down to hurt me plenty.
I have not done that ever. He said, having having like a year or more gap between when he actually played on the PS4.
But after I was done with Doom Eternal, I was completely winded from the thing, and I didn't touch anything Doom related for quite a while. I was late to the party when it came to the expansions, just because I was like, I don't want to run myself ragged again for a while.
And I certainly don't blame you there, especially if you did like I did and just did it all in, a few week span.
Mhm.
I feel like I should have given myself a little more time between then because I finished the entire countdown with 2 weeks to spare, and I probably should have given myself a little bit of a breather.
Yeah, we talked about don't marathon the original Doom because it ends low.
It starts
Don't
high and
marathon
ends
Doom
low.
Eternal.
Oh God,
Don't
no!
marathon Doom Eternal because you're going to be sucking wind by the end of it.
And then some. I mean, some of the highlights of the game is I do love the weapons, and I do love that they brought back the original design of the plasma gun, which I didn't realize how fucking big that thing was.
Hmm. It did give us some of the greatest memes the community has had.
Yes, yes, definitely there.
Also, I did I did enjoy just looking at just the little details of the fortress.
Hmm.
And I'll always be a sucker for whenever I get like a fortress or housing or like in video games. Um, the I also There are also a bunch of little Easter eggs I enjoyed, uh, and further diving into the meme of the Doomslayer being one giant fucking nerd.
Hmm. Because he has those old PCs and he has Doom 1 and Doom 2 on them.
That and just a bunch of little things. I also enjoyed the that little post credit thing at the end,
Oh,
which
yeah.
the back of my mind ended up saying, I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
I'm not gonna lie, some of those little Funko Pops I wish I could have gotten because they were pretty cool looking, especially the in the one secret you find where you find the Slayer and he has the little arm blade and he raises it up
Mhm.
and then he extends and retracts his own blade.
Yeah, the there's al- there was also I think the only thing that kind of disappointed me was how and this was there are probably good reasons why this happened. Go back and look at the way the meat hook worked in those early presentations compared to what we ended up getting.
Hmm.
Uh, it isn't as the meat hook that we would get. It certainly has its use, but it isn't as freeform as the original was.
Yeah, and
I'd imagine it was done in that way because programming for it was probably an absolute nightmare.
yeah, I was about to say I have a little more to say about the meat hook, but we'll get to that when we get to Ancient Gods 2.
Mhm. I will also note, uh, when it comes to the resources, by the time you get to late game, the resources get a bit insane.
Hmm.
And I understand wanting to double down on resources, but combat with Doom Eternal feels like you're constantly 1 second late.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
and it's to the point where I know some folk have the gag of checking the credits for any Raven devs. I want to check the credits to see if there are any OG COD devs, because that was definitely a thing in the World War II, in the early COD games, especially if you played on Veteran. The only
Hmm.
thing that this didn't have is the fucking grenade spam.
Right. And I don't
But
know about you, but I enjoyed the hell out of the full auto mod of the shotgun.
shoots the ammo a little bit too fast for my liking. But I certainly enjoy it. Oh,
Oh,
sometimes if I feel bored, I'll load that up with the infinite ammo cheat and just have fun with that.
I don't know if you have the salvo extender with some low tier enemies, it's not that bad. It's just if you
Mhm.
go on to like the heavies and whatnot, that's where it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
What is it, kitty?
Mhm.
Oh, you're. Oh, I see. You're wanting attention now. Come here, you. I'm gonna put her out. Freya has decided she wants my attention. Very sweet girl, but hey, I'm working. I know. I'll give you hugs later. You know, maybe at some point, aside from aside from Tabby's dragon kitten, I'll have like Freya because Freya's clung to me ever since I rescued her.
Mm-hmm.
But
But,
back on task here.
oh yeah.
Ancient Gods Part 1. Honestly, I'm going to say McGee tier. Simply because, yes, while it was only 4 levels long, uh, the levels went on far too long for my liking. Especially the Blood Swamps.
Yeah, it's definitely a case of overstaying its welcome, and there were certain levels in Eternal that could be considered a bit long, like the Super Gore Nest.
Oh, yeah, I can definitely agree with you there. Super Gore Nest, and there's one other one that I really. No, it wasn't the Necrovol.
Uh,
No, it was the Necrovol. I
mhm.
really did not like that level. But yeah,
And wasn't big on it either, but it's a case of when I know a lot of people romanticize the more labyrinthine maps, but you can you can go. It's a pendulum. You can go too far with that one way or the other way, and whichever way you go, whichever side the pendulum swings too far, the problem is it swung too far.
mm. Not to mention the encounters. I mean, aside from the maps going on too long, the encounters went on for far too long as well.
Mhm.
And
Uh,
while no, okay, I admit I hated the possessed enemies so much. And the fact that you had to basically waste what was possessing them with the microwave beam just kind of. It's like, okay, so you're not really giving me a choice in the matter for this.
yeah, it's kind of a it's kind of a gimmick.
Mm. I certainly don't mind gimmicks, but it's, as you said, it's one of those things that just really overstayed its welcome.
Mhm. I will also note the when it came to when it came to the when it came to the ancient gods, the the twist regarding the Dark Lord. If I'm being honest, that always felt to me like a like something I would see in a parody.
And then John was a zombie. No, no,
Hmm.
no, wait, that's another game, but we'll get to that.
Like
But
you do all this build up for the Dark Lord of Hell, and he ends up being you.
yep, he is you in their world. Which, to quote John St. John for a moment, well, I hate to kick my own ass, but it's got to be done.
I mean, you who it should have been just as the ultimate in joke, Doctor
Or,
Palpatine.
oh God, no.
That would be the greatest shit post ever.
Oh God. I would say that that would make it far more entertaining, and I was like, okay, I gotta see what happens next with this. Making progress, Marine? Your journey is futile. I mean, don't get me wrong, that guy's performance in Doom 3 was. I mean, while it was very campy, he was doing his best.
He understood the assignment.
Yes, yes, he did. Uh, but yeah, definitely Ancient Gods McGee tier. I don't hate it enough to put it into Hall or Willets tier, but I, I didn't have a good time with it. I'm just going to be quite frank.
Yeah. A bit of a side note, I will note. I understand what the intent was, but I got really sick of the Marauders very quickly.
Oh, even the possessed ones, especially in Ancient Gods Part 2, God, those were annoying. And the funny thing is, I don't even hate the Marauders as an enemy. Once you get their patterns down, they're easy. But two or
Yeah,
more of them at a time, it's like, come on, give me some wiggle room here.
even just multiple ones back to back. The problem that I always had with the Marauders was I would have liked to have eventually had a way where going up against one isn't a protracted duel every single time.
Especially when you're getting bombarded left and right by fodder tier enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Which speaking of ancient gods too, that's where a lot of it came in. Um,
Yeah, Ancient Gods Part Two is probably the more divisive one.
I'm gonna call this one a solid B though. You might disagree with me, but I definitely say it's a solid B. I didn't hate it in the same way that I hated Ancient Gods one because it definitely I feel like it definitely fleshed out the Sentinels more, and the Sentinel Hammer I absolutely adored.
Oh, I lost you for a moment.
I lost you for a second.
Yeah, you were saying regarding the Sentinel Hammer.
I was saying that I absolutely adored the Sentinel Hammer.
Mm-hmm. Which the Sentinel Hammer is definitely closer to something I could see the Slayer using. Um, even though one of these days I will have to have someone design a a bit of art using the sword.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, the sword did give me a few He-Man jokes I was able to pull off.
Oh, the Crucible! I absolutely adored the Crucible.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so I am a little bit disappointed when I feel like there was one missed opportunity to at some point have something that is a gap filler between 2016 and Eternal,
Mm-hmm.
because it really felt like they were teasing a fight between the Slayer and Samuel Hayden.
Mm-hmm. With Samuel Hayden getting his shit fucking kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
But
guess in a way we did get that with the Ancient Gods Part 1, but it just didn't feel the same, so I kind of get what you mean.
yeah, and the and the whole thing of the actual nature of Vega and the like the it was a case of the timing just wasn't there,
Yeah.
because you go straight from 2016 to Eternal, and I could see people having some questions like what the hell happened.
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of context is missing.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a very thick cutting room floor. And there usually is with these kind of projects, but
Mm-hmm.
even more so than normal.
Especially one this ambitious that is trying to ride off the shoulders of the success of 2016.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna say Ancient Gods Part 2 is definitely Peterson.
Hmm.
Sentinel Hammer was good. Yeah, I felt like the levels went on a little too long. Um, but as with Ultimate Doom, start high, end low. Because I hate to say it, once you got the Dark Lord figured out, he was piss easy.
If you remember around the time of Ancient Gods Part 2, there was an attempt to do a mod project to do a endless mode when it came to Doom Eternal's framework.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was being worked on by Protet. I don't remember if that ever got finished.
I don't know, but that's something I'll definitely have to look into. I will say one thing regarding Ancient Gods Part 2. Why the Stone Imps? Because like with the possessed enemies in Ancient Gods Part 1, Stone Imps had a specific weapon weakness, and it was the fucking auto shotgun. which,
Mhm.
which for me is fine as a connoisseur of shotguns. I had no problem just whipping that thing out and just going full auto on those little bastards. But there were too goddamn many sometimes, especially in Imora, when you're coming up to the fight with the Dark Lord. Alright, now we come to this one. Doom the Dark Ages. I gotta say, I had a lot of fun with this one.
Mm-hmm.
There were certainly things that I did not enjoy about it. Uh, I guess mostly the fact that some of the levels felt a little too easy. He
It's
said
definitely that.
playing, yeah, he said playing it on hurt me plenty.
Mhm. It was definitely a different approach. I feel like it was an approach that had to be done for no other reason than where else could you really take the approach that you did with Eternal? And I think some people who talked about how this was a step down were probably expecting Eternal 2, but that was never in the cards.
I was about to say
You have to,
I don't even think from the trailers they were going to be able to top Eternal.
in terms of that speed approach. Plus, I do remember very early on there being talk at a QuakeCon one year of the next Doom project was going to be more akin to a monster truck,
Mm-hmm.
which was the mindset that they kept. Uh, the Dark Ages is definitely a slower experience. I'd say it's a middle ground between 2016 and Eternal in terms of its speed.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I kept finding a lot of parallels in terms of how it plays in its trilogy compared with Halo 3, which Halo 3 was very much a middle ground between Combat Evolved and Halo 2.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes
Definitely.
to it's very much focused on the whole on its parry system, which some could argue is a little bit generous. I think the only problem that I had is there were times where I felt like I got screwed over by not having proper animation canceling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I felt like with the shield they were. I mean, and with the parry system, I had a little trouble at first, getting the timing down. But
mhm.
I felt like it was going somewhere between like uh, Dark Souls with the parry timing being so incredibly precise.
The one thing I will say when it comes to the reboot trilogy, um, the Dark Ages probably the most accessible due to how much control you have over the difficulty. It's kind of in that same difficulty control that you'd see from, say, an Owlcat CRPG
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the slider options that you do have. When it comes to when it comes to the weapons, um, I do have to question, given the weapons that you get access to, I do have to question why they did that whole thing of alt versions of each. Why they couldn't just have a unified wheel. Um,
I think it was to cut down on space and to kind of play to specific play styles for certain people.
I suppose, and there's a lot of stuff to play to a lot of different play styles.
Definitely.
Uh, there were some weapons that definitely got less use for me than others, like say the chain shot, which once I got the rocket launcher, the chain shot was kind of irrelevant.
If I didn't feel
Oh
like running cannibalize with the rocket launcher, I use the chain shot quite a bit, especially against the Agadon hunters.
yeah, I will note the one. There were a few enemy types that I'm surprised there wasn't an equivalent of, and there's a lot of and there's a lot of enemy types that are fusions of others or are just a much different approach. The
Mm-hmm.
bigger one, of course, being imps. Imps are design wise. I feel like they were taking some notes from 64, and they're a lot slow. They're a lot slower than imps in previous games. You had the whole thing with pinkies. You have instead of specters being being semi visible pinkies. Specters are instead imps in a different coat of paint.
The
Um,
stock. Oh, so the stalkers from like Eternal and whatnot.
mhm. The the
Which
equivalent of these stone imps were a lot more manageable because just one charge and they're pretty much dealt with.
not just that, but if you parried them, not only did you kill them, but you could possibly kill like any other enemy that's close.
Yeah. Uh, and I I know for some they missed the chainsaw, but I got more use out of the saw shields effects than I ever did with the chainsaw, which was kind of replaced with the way it does melee attacks.
Mhm.
So it's a despite not having as low of a clip, you actually get more out of it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the way upgrades worked, of having three different types of upgrade currency.
Mhm.
I felt like that was some blatant bottlenecking, and I'm
And
not the
I
biggest fan of
can,
that.
yeah, I can definitely see that, especially if you're someone who just likes to go in, experience the power fantasy. You're not going to spend time, hunting for secrets. You're just going to go in there and kill shit.
Like, I'm not the biggest fan of multiple currencies that do the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that and you look at some of the other, you look at the predecessors. You for upgrading when it came to Eternal, it was largely Sentinel batteries
Mm-hmm.
was where it began and ended. With 2016, you had two different types of upgrade currency, but they were for two different things. You had some for your weapons and some for the suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
With
especially like the Praetor suit tokens in 2016. But with at least with the weapons in 2016, you got them based on how well you killed shit.
Yeah, you had the whole thing with masteries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from what I experienced with the Dark Ages, the main thing that the masteries did was just give you weapon skins, which for a guy like me who doesn't really care about skins, that's not saying much. And that's why I felt like the that whole thing of gold, rubies, and wraith tokens did it didn't have this. It felt like padding. I
I
would have much preferred just having higher gold costs for upgrades.
Yeah, just finding more gold around the level.
Mhm. Now that being said, there I definitely appreciate. I'll always have a soft spot for this futuristic yet feudal design when it came to the Night Sentinels and when it came to a lot of the equipment you get from that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It felt like you were like playing a freaking space Viking.
yeah, I did say, is this the closest we'll get to it doing Hexen? Because fuck Activision. Uh,
Activision and Raven. Ugh.
hmm. And when I look at the when I look at the weapons that you do get, um, I think the only there were a few that felt kind of replaceable, but I did notice a pattern of every weapon kind of has a variation on one particular gimmick, which is fire enough bullets at something and you'll get some kind of effect on that enemy or on your gun.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's definitely the case with the plasma weapons. You know, fire enough of it, you build enough heat, and then you do more damage. You know, the nail weapons. It was a case of pin cushioning.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my favorites were the skull weapons, especially the second one you get.
The Ravager. I can definitely agree with you on the Ravager. The Ravager I use a whole fuck ton
I feel
versus
like the
the
Ravager was the um setting equivalent to a chain gun.
I could definitely see that if the chain gun had like a lot tighter spread and shot bone shards.
Mm-hmm. Mostly because it's still doing that slow build up thing.
Right.
Oh. And the I didn't use the BFC all that much,
Neither did I. And,
but
as someone who loves the BFG, I feel like it didn't get a whole lot of use.
mostly because I wasn't done. I wasn't in enough opposition to really need it. The BFG from 2016 onward has been your panic button.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Oh,
Fuck it. We're going to nuke everything.
yeah. Yep. Yep. We are graduates of the Wang School of Combat.
I would make a joke here, but I don't think I could say that on Twitch.
Uh, I like nuclear weapons,
Close enough.
but I also say that there was one particular enemy that got really high up on my hate-o-meter, and that is the Whiplash.
Oh, yeah. Whiplash were especially annoying in Eternal.
They're
Especially
annoying in
because
Eternal.
especially because the hitbox.
Yeah, the hitbox was weird, and even in a slower one like the Dark Ages, they're still annoying.
Mm-hmm. Like you don't know how far away you are for them to completely miss you with their weapon, or they're just going to completely wreck you.
You know, I think the big problem when it comes to Whiplash is the signposting window you have for their to parry their attacks is definitely Dark Souls
Mm-hmm.
small.
Oh
With
yeah,
some of the other ones, you can adjust that. It's not that much of an issue. With the Whiplash, it definitely was.
yeah. I felt like they when they were coding Whiplash, they took the Eternal template and they just didn't turn it down.
Mhm. Which I think is why the Whiplash became such an annoyance. Um, I mean, we didn't have much in the way of pain elementals, but you're not going to hear me miss pain elementals. Even even in
Uh,
this setup where lost souls are just suiciders. Um,
they bring back pain elementals in the Dark Ages DLC. Just you fucking wait.
I will eat that crow if it comes to it. But
Once again, fair enough.
I will also note when it came to the revenants. I think these are the easiest revenants we've had.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't hate them. They were more of a minor annoyance than anything because they'd be put in a tier of in a big group of like smaller enemies, and then they just fly around. But I found that once you get them out of their spectral state and hit them with the shield saw, a few good 3 round bursts of the shotgun did them in, or just a single blast of the super shotgun just got rid of
yeah,
them very quick.
yeah. The also I cannot be mad at the game for giving me mechs.
Yeah, I saw I saw how much fun you had with those.
Mhm.
I enjoyed the mech sections, especially where you get that big ass fucking mech shotgun.
Yeah,
As to quote Civi for a moment, when I saw that thing, I made an embarrassingly sexual moan when I got that.
I could I could definitely see that. The I mean, yeah. The mech and dragon segments are a bit of a gimmick. I do feel that there was a missed opportunity when it came to the dragon segments to go full Panzer Dragoon with it,
Mm-hmm.
which they didn't.
Doom
Because
rail
the
shooter? Hell yeah.
because I really wanted to like the dragon segments. I think the thing that I didn't like was the fact that when it came to destroying certain targets, it felt like a game of Simon Says,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the chase parts of the dragon segments where it really felt its most natural.
especially considering that the double chain gun felt really, really weak unless you powered it up.
Yeah, but maybe I have the remake of Panzer Dragoon. Maybe I'll play that one on stream one of these days. Or if I feel like trying to get a Saturn emulator to work, play Panzer Dragoon Sagas, which, um, yes, I would be emulating that. I'm not going to be using a legit copy. Do you know how expensive that is?
Oh yeah, especially after the retro boom.
It was expensive as hell anyways because it was a very limited run because there wasn't a whole lot of faith in it.
Yeah, it's like
That
trying to
and
find a physical copy of Demon's Crest.
yeah, good fucking even back when we were kids, we'd have a hard time finding that.
Yeah, because it was released so close to the SNES's life cycle and really didn't get a whole lot of copies made.
Hmm. But yeah, I'm perfectly fine with Dark Ages in A tier. Um, Despite it does have some shortcomings, and I do have a feeling that Dark Ages is going to be divisive and divisive for stupid reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say it's going to be divisive for stupid reasons, the main reason I say that is finish this sentence. When you're in Rome,
Do as the Romans do.
yeah. And I think a lot of people did not approach it as its own game. They tried to approach it as a direct follow-up to Eternal.
Yeah,
And that was never in the cards.
and once again, to quote Civi, I didn't go in with high expectation. I went in with no expectations because, I didn't have any. I was just expecting a big ol', power fantasy with a shield saw.
Yeah. I will, however, say,
What
given
the
the
hell?
whole hive mind thing with the makers, Creed makes no sense. I do agree with
Definitely.
you on that.
Yeah, Creed made absolutely no sense. And I remember another conversation we had about this being interconnected with Quake. I just gotta say, what in the Call of Cthulhu fuck?
You remember, this really did feel like Romero and Sandy Peterson getting into a fight again.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it, but I never would have thought I would see. I never thought I'd see the Slayer fighting Cthulhu in a giant fucking mech. And
No.
strangely enough, I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they can't call it Cthulhu,
Yeah.
but let's not beat around the bush with that. The whole cosmic realm area was a very left field thing that I don't think anyone saw coming.
Uh, I admit, I was like, oh, what in the hell is this? What am I gonna fight Shub Nagoroth and telefrag it?
Watch in the DLC we end up fighting the Yellow King.
Oh god. um, I will say, the meme about the Doomslayer being too angry to die was given Light in Harbor of Souls, and then John was a zombie.
Mm.
I will say I am a little disappointed that Berserk didn't get more use in the game,
Mm.
because that's been a staple of it since, Doom 1. So, but to have it so late, while I didn't mind just absolutely destroying a room full of heavies, I felt like it should have gotten more use.
Yeah, I know that I know that a DLC expansion is in the works. That was something that was teased.
I was about to say that was inevitable.
Mhm. I do hope with that one, some of the things that were introduced a bit late get a little bit more time to shine, like Berserk.
I,
Now, though, on that note, it is kind of funny that some of the old power ups have not stuck around, like invisibility, for instance.
yeah, and
I don't
I don't think we had invisibility at all in Dark Ages.
in any of the reboot trilogy, we haven't had invisibility.
Uh-uh.
Um,
Not now that you think about it, you're right. I was like, wow, really? They didn't have partial invisibility? Ugh.
I mean, it probably wouldn't have. It probably was one of those things that was considered, but it didn't fit the gameplay style.
Neither did quad damage, but look at how that turned out.
I disagree. Quad damage definitely fits.
I will just say that is fair. uh, so, um, to I guess to kind of cap this off, top three favorite weapons.
Um, I'd say I got to go with the super shotgun in all of its incarnations. Oh, I would say the chain gun circa Eternal.
Mhm.
And I would also say a fully upgraded heavy machine gun in 2016. You know, where it becomes less of a machine gun and more of a mini missile launcher.
Ah, so you love the micro missile attachment as well. I see.
Yes.
Anything with explosives, yeah. This is why we're friends.
Uh,
I would definitely say for me, definitely Super Shotgun's on my list. But then again, Super Shotgun has been my go-to since Doom 2. So any chance I can use a double-barreled shotgun, I immediately go for.
mhm.
Let me think. Oh God, I did love the chain gun, but I'd say more 2016's chain gun. Yes, I know it had less barrels than Eternals, but uh, being able to move around with it and just pepper everything with bullets, especially Barons in the latter hell levels, definitely, definitely one of my greatest loves. Lastly, I am torn between the Gauss cannon in 2016 and the Destroyer Blade for the Ballista in Eternal. So I'm probably just going to leave those there.
I would probably lean towards the Gauss cannon because of how completely borked that thing is.
Especially when you
Once
upgrade it
it's
in the siege mode.
yeah. The intended downside with siege mode is you can't move. And then the last upgrade for it is you can move.
You can move slowly, but you can still just nuke everything.
Mhm.
Not to mention,
No,
that thing could pierce.
no, it's like with the Ravager where one of the early upgrades you can get is negating the movement penalty of it.
That's why it got so much use from me, especially against, like, the Agadon Hunters and the
Mhm.
Vagaries.
Oh
Especially
yeah.
the fucking armored vagaries. Once you peppered them enough and you got their armor off, they were easy pickings.
Mhm.
Alright, so I'll
But
go ahead and save this tier list.
mhm.
Um, and I'll be linking this on X, and I'll be linking that in the monastery as well.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I'm actually pretty satisfied with where we put everything.
Oh yeah.
Especially TNT, because fuck TNT.
I have used for years. I've used TNT as an example of bigger does not equal better. If only because I've mentioned this in the past, but one of my big whipping boys has been the Elder Scrolls. And one of the reasons why it's my whipping boy is because I constantly hear people talk up about how big the map is, whether it be fans or developers. A big ass map does not mean a whole lot when so many of the encounters and gameplay feels the same.
Mm-hmm.
And when the modern military thing became a craze, a lot of people lamented the linearity of a lot of the maps. I had said that is because they wanted the old labyrinths, and I'm like, you can screw up the labyrinths too. As I keep saying, this is a pendulum.
Exactly.
I mean, hell, that's the reason why I can't play Wolfenstein 3D in anything but short bursts.
Well, yeah, there's like 60 levels in that game. If you're not playing if you're playing the nocturnal missions, and if you're not, it's still a lot of levels, and they're all pretty much flat and samey.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing about Project Warlock, but at least Project Warlock, you have some different locales and whatnot, and traps.
You also have a much bigger kit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And when they did Project Warlock 2, that restriction went out the window.
Mm-hmm. Which reminds me, those two games are on my list to play on stream, especially 2, because now that 1.0 came out back in late May, that's definitely on the list to get through. Mm-hmm. Since I backed that on Kickstarter, and I do not regret it one bit.
Oh yeah.
My only complaint is, where's my box, Kuba? Alrighty, but with that, I think that will conclude this little thing. Mm-hmm. My first fireside lounge. Mildred, thank you, my friend, for joining me on this little journey. Hope you had as much fun as I did.
I certainly did.
This is his first time within the library, and I certainly hope it will not be his last.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I'll be seeing you in the monastery on Friday for the wrap up of Farsight.
I am actually looking forward to that because I've enjoyed everything I've seen. Well, just about everything I've seen in Farsight, mm-hmm. especially some of the freaking absolute ridiculous creations that you, me, Tabby, and Joe have all come up with.
Oh yeah.
So, for those of you who don't follow Mildred, definitely give him a follow. But for now, I think we'll draw this stream to a close. So I'll go ahead and find us a nice person to raid. See who's up for this. Let's see. It's gonna be between. Oh, okay. Up for some Devil May Cry.
Nice.
That's why we're friends. Alright, so I will go ahead and put in the raid for mutual follower and friend of ours, Desi. So we'll go on and head that way.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, this is Sigmundo Orlando with my good friend Mildred the Monk signing off. Until our paths cross again, folks, see you on the trail.
Stay frosty.